So how many times have you or a family member or a loved one done something, engaged in a habit on a regular basis that you knew was harmful, you knew it was bad, but you did it anyway? We see it all the time, and the technical term for this is repetition compulsion. But what is that? What does it mean, and how does it impact our past, present, and future relationships that we're having with people? How does it affect ourselves? Why do we do things that we know are bad, but we do them anyway? And why do our partners do things that we know are bad, and they do them anyway to us? And how do we set boundaries and draw a line? That's what we're covering. Hi, I'm Jeff Campbell from DivorcedParentsClub.com, and I'm glad you're here with me today on this channel and on this topic. So repetition compulsion, by definition, means that we are compelled to do something over and over and over again, despite knowing what the consequences are, despite knowing that it's bad. I'll give you an example. My now ex-wife, we split up a little over a year ago. My now ex-wife has been a smoker for most of her life. Guess what? She was at her grandmother's side while she was dying of lung cancer. Her father passed away in part because of lung cancer. Her mother has been significantly prematurely aged because of heavy smoking. She knows firsthand the dangers and the damage of smoking cigarettes, and yet for most of her adult life and probably teen life, she has done just that. She knows it, she does it anyway. Why does she do it? What is repetition compulsion all about? Well, it's because it's familiar, and whether good or bad, we are drawn to the familiar in our lives. I'll give you another example from my life. I grew up with an alcoholic stepfather. Thankfully, my mom left him when I was 10 after he knocked her teeth out. But guess what? I've had 8 serious relationships in my life, and 4 of those 8 women have indeed been alcoholics on some level or another. Most of them quite functional alcoholics, but alcoholics nonetheless. So why am I repeatedly drawn to people with alcohol dependency, despite knowing firsthand the dangers of what that was from an early age in my childhood? Well, again, it's because of repetition compulsion. I am drawn to things that are familiar, because even if I know it's bad on a logical level, emotionally, there is comfort in something that is familiar. Let me say that again. There is comfort in the familiar. So whether or not something is bad or not, we are going to be drawn to it until we learn to break that pattern. Real quick, if you like this video and you want to see more videos like it, hit that like button, then smash the subscribe button and the bell notification button too. So we know something is bad. We know something is toxic. We know something that we are doing, whether that's in our own lives or something that we're drawn to in other people. We know it's bad, but we're doing it anyway. So how do we break those patterns? How do we get out of the repetition compulsion? That's really the key question here, isn't it? How do we stop doing this and start to move our lives forward in a healthier way? Well, the first step, as with anything, is that level of awareness. Just like they say with alcoholics, the first step is that moment of clarity where they realize, hey, I'm an alcoholic. So just realizing that this is repetition compulsion that I'm experiencing. I'm doing this, or I'm looking for this in a partner because of repetition compulsion, because it's familiar. I recognize it's toxic, but I'm doing it anyway. So that awareness is the first step, and luckily, it's also half the battle. Once you've realized what the problem is, it's a whole lot easier to solve the problem than if you're still in the stage where you don't quite recognize the problem yet. You can't solve a problem if you're not aware of it. So once you become aware of it, that's huge. Then what do we do? Well, let's get some examples going here. So let's say, like me, I am drawn to women who tend to abuse alcohol. Maybe they're full-blown alcoholics, maybe they're functioning alcoholics, maybe they just drink too much and sometimes make poor choices as a result of that. Now, having said that, I'm fully of the belief that alcohol has never made anyone do anything they didn't otherwise want to do, or at least have thought about doing. What it does do is lower the inhibitions and raise our ability to kind of justify our behavior. But it doesn't really make someone do something they don't want to do. But I am drawn to women like that, and I have been for my whole life. Like I said, out of the 8 serious relationships I've had, 4 of them have been with women who would fall into that category. So that's 50%. So after we've identified the issue, then what is it about the kinds of women I'm drawn to? If I think about the 4 women in my life, there really aren't any physical characteristics. Nothing about their appearance ties them together. It's purely just the alcohol. But there is also one other component that's crucial there. There's an excitement level. There's a dynamic, an uncertainty. There's, that feeling that at any moment it could go south. It could go off the rails. But right now, it's just kind of exciting and titillating, if I'm being honest. And we are drawn to that excitement. Women who are stable, who are steady, who never rock the boat. That's great. That seems like the perfect thing in a relationship, right? But it's boring for a lot of guys, definitely myself included. I like that spark, that excitement, that uncertainty, that dynamic, that fluctuation. And the 4 women that I've been with who fall into that alcoholic boat definitely all had that in common. Nothing else in common really, but they did have that in common. So begin to recognize that, and then you've got to consciously make a choice to look for something different. And at first it's going to feel unfamiliar. It may not feel pleasant. You may start going out with women who are the opposite of that, and it might feel boring or dry or unexciting or uneventful. That's okay. Anytime we break a pattern and we begin to do something a different way, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. It's the familiar that feels comfortable. But in this case, the familiar is not healthy. We want to break those unhealthy habits and create new healthy habits. And the way to do that is by faking it until you make it. And I know that expression sometimes gets a bad rap. I don't want you to fake it really, but anything that you take on, any new habit, any new task, if you decide you want to learn how to play the violin, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first. It's not going to feel natural. You don't know how to do this. And it is going to feel quote unquote fake. But eventually, the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the more comfortable and natural it begins to become. And then it's just a natural part of your life, and you don't have to think about it at all. So really, everything that is new and different falls into that category, including changing the habits of finding out what kind of women you're attracted to and intentionally making a different choice when you're starting to date women, when you're looking for girlfriend material, when you're looking for that next perfect person in your life. You've got to make a different choice if you want different results. As they say, it's the definition of insanity to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. So if you recognize a pattern in the kind of women that you are typically drawn to, and it's not a healthy pattern, you've got to change that pattern. You've got to look for women who don't fit that mold. Identify what it is that you don't like, then identify characteristics that typically lead to those kinds of behaviors, and then look for women who don't display those characteristics. And again, it's going to feel unnatural at first. It's not going to feel comfortable at first. You may have to date several women in this new category before it begins to feel commonplace and normal, and before you get into a groove. And then once you start dating these women who are in this new category, this healthier category, who don't display these behaviors that can be destructive, then you can begin to move forward in your life in a healthier way and break those patterns. I'm not saying this because I think it's easy. It's not easy to break an unhealthy habit, whether that's our own habit or whether it's the kind of person that we're drawn to in relationships. I know it's not easy. I know it takes time, but I do know that it's well worth your time investing in yourself and in your future to find healthier habits in your life and to find healthier partners for your future partners in your life. Anyway, I hope this video helps you, and I'll see you in the next video.